Welcome to Just 15 Minutes, the space where leaders share the real practices that keep them steady under pressure. My name is Eric Bomyea, and today I'm joined by Eric Williamson, a leadership coach and conflict resolution expert. Welcome, Eric.
Thanks so much for having me here, Eric. I'm really excited to be here, man.
Me too. It's from here that we'll begin. I would like to talk about conflict.
Okay.
And so, curious if you could walk us through a time in your life that you experienced a conflict and how you chose to lead through it.
Wow. Sure, there's not enough time in 15 minutes to share, any of these, but let me just think back to how about a time where I almost lost my job? I guess that's one I'll share. Yeah, several years ago, I almost lost my job because I was a jerk. I was someone who was not I didn't work well with other people, and because of that, because I had an ego, I wasn't getting any work done. I didn't rely on the people that I needed to in order to get my job done, and I was almost fired.
Mm,
But my boss, he was very graceful, and he recommended that I take some training, which was an emotional intelligence course. So the reason why I'm going to share that one is because this is where I didn't realize how to deal with conflict or how to regulate emotions or even how to work with anyone. And this was a pivotal moment in my life because once I was forced, or I will say voluntold, to take emotional intelligence training, that really opened up my eyes and it really helped me practice self awareness about how my actions and behaviors can affect other people. And once I was able to understand that self awareness, it helped me adjust and regulate my own emotions for future conflict situations. So I think that was something that I needed to happen to me in order to deal with future conflict situations much better.
thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That's a really hard moment to be in, to receive that kind of feedback and have the consequence be, if I don't take action, I could lose my livelihood. And that's a really intense place to be. So thank you for sharing that. And what I heard too with your manager was the grace. And it was almost an initiation of being like, I see you and I see that there are tendencies and a lot of there's a lack of self awareness going on here. And so I see you and I could ignore it and just close you out and send you down the path. But I'm not going to. I'm actually going to use grace and initiate you along the path and help you to advance yourself moving forward. Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, you did. That's spot on. And I, hindsight is 2020, but I can't help to think that the reason why he showed me that grace was because this was like my first job out of school. And maybe he was just like, well, you clearly don't know what you don't know right now. Let me help you out here, okay? Because when you have a stack of paperwork this high and you're not getting stuff done, I think you need some help. And so
Yeah.
I would love to think that he did give me some grace because it helped shape me, honestly, for future conflict situations and the kind of person I am today.
So, from that moment into then future conflicts and now within your own work, when emotions run high, what are some of the things that you yourself do? And then how do you teach people to kind of like regulate themselves before they go into big conversations?
Yeah, so that experience helped shape this three-step process that I've learned. And it's not entirely new to other people, but it's called the AAA method. And it stands for assess, analyze, act. And this helps me avoid those knee-jerk reactions, diffuse tense situations, and also come up with a more measured response instead of letting your emotions get the best of you, which sometimes a lot of us can it can happen to a lot of us. And so the first step is to assess the situation. When you're under conflict, when you're under stress, the first thing is to assess what your body's telling you. Oftentimes, and you might know this, Eric, our body signals this kind of stress. Our heart could beat fast, our palms could get sweaty, we can clench our jaw, we can get really tense. My back gets really tense sometimes. But once you're able to understand and recognize what your body's telling you, that's the signal. That's what your body's communicating. So then you need to understand, well, what's the situation that's triggering these body reactions? And that forces you to really understand and get present in the moment. Well, maybe it's because I'm stuck in traffic. And by the time I make it to work, I'm going to be inundated with meetings and phone calls. Or, maybe it's because this person is gaslighting me, or they're they're acting short and abrasive, and I don't know how to respond to it. So once you are able to really analyze what that situation is after you take that assessment, that quick body assessment, then that helps you with your response. So that leads us to step three. And basically, what that means, it means composing yourself. It means being in the moment and understanding what your options could be, your response options could be. It could be to lash out at this person, it could be to shut down, or it could be to say, you know what, I'm not really in the best moment right now to respond to the situation. Can I have a moment? Or maybe it's, I want to say this, but what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to be self aware and I'm going to say something like, you know what? I just got in the office. I've been, I've been stuck in traffic. Can I have 5 minutes before I respond? And usually that helps me be in the moment. It helps me become more aware of my own actions and behaviors. And it helps me become more honest with myself. Instead of just like some of us do, we just push along. We just say, no, we can do it. No, I can do it. Um, Let me just give you a quick example. I know we've got 15 minutes, but I was about to do a podcast with someone a couple of weeks ago, and they weren't in the right frame of mind. They heard
Mm.
something awful on the news, and they said, "Listen, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I'm late to this podcast, but I just heard some awful news, and I just need to get myself together." And so I said, "Well, why don't we just take a moment? Why don't we just reschedule? We don't need to do this right now." Sometimes we think that our only option is to just move forward, but once we assess, we analyze, and then we act, that last step could be to just delay that response until you're ready to deal with that situation. And so sometimes that three-step process can be magic in those situations.
Because conflict can bring up a tremendous amount of uncertainty. We don't know how it's going to go. And if you compound that on top of the already heightened emotions, then it's really hard to act in those situations. And so, what I'm hearing is to take time to really feel into what's going on, feel into the body, use cognition to kind of put pieces together. And then from there, we have a little bit more clarity to then be able to act on, and then being able to go into whatever it is we need to. We need to address something, but I need 5 minutes first because this is where I'm at. I want to go through this with you. I actually want to walk through this with you, but right now I need to pause. I'll come back in 5 minutes.
Absolutely. And that message is twofold. Not only are you sending your own message to yourself saying that, hey, I need a few minutes to get myself together, but you're also signaling to the other person that you care enough about this situation that you want to be fully present. And sometimes in the fast moving age of AI and technology, and we always have to be quick with a response, we seldom give ourselves that permission to just slow down, get ourselves together, and be fully present. And
Yeah.
so I've been working on this for a while, and this is something that I teach to a lot of people who I work with, especially in the IT realm, and it's really helpful. But the thing is it can be hard to do because we feel compelled, we feel pressured to respond always. We're always on the go, but just giving yourself that moment, those few minutes to just comport yourself and compose yourself, it can mean the world to that situation.
Absolutely. And what I think it also allows is the clarity or the ability to see the situation as not so scary.
Yes.
Right. One of the metaphors that I've used in my life is that, like, as a kid, I would look into the closet and I would see a pile of clothes and interpret it as the boogeyman. And that was me reacting to what I thought I saw. And then once I take the step toward the closet and I see that it's just a pile of clothes, it's no longer as scary. It still takes bravery and it still takes courage to get to that point. And there still is an after effect. There still is the after effect of my body was in tension. I pushed through a challenge consciously. And then on the other side, I do have to dispel some energy. So I'm curious, like after conflict, what are some of the ways that you work with your own bodily energy after a conflict to regulate as well?
Yeah, you mean like to just kind of have a smooth landing, get yourself, recalibrated. Sometimes what the work that we did before just recently when we started this, like that breathing work, I mean, that is monumental. That helps me out tremendously. And it's helped me out so much that I do that with my kids. Um, After a conflict, we practice breathing work. We try to match each other's breaths. We talk about, three deep breaths. And this kind of helps you, take your mind off of the situation, but also it helps you calm down a lot better because you've been able to put your body at ease from that conflict. So that way you can kind of sometimes that tension just melts away. That breathing work is so key. It's so critical for me.
It really, I'm, I'm literally, my skin is just dancing right now. I'm just the leadership that you're demonstrating in your professional life, the grace that you accepted somebody else's grace, and now how you're including that as a leader, as a father is incredible. And I just want to acknowledge you for that. Thank you. Thank you so much for leading and guiding and creating the next generation that can have hard conversations and can regulate afterwards. Like conflict isn't bad. It's gonna come up, it's gonna happen, but can we still meet each other before and after? So thank you.
You are so welcome. I have a 7 and 9-year-old, and as you can imagine, conflicts arise all the time. And trying to show them things that I've learned that's helped me out, just simple things like this without overwhelming them or overburdening them. But you can have instant improvement just by the breathing work. I've seen it in them, and it's starting to become more of a habit out of them as well. Sometimes I ask them, like, well, what are you doing? I'm practicing my breathing work, Dad. All right, before I feel like, all right, okay, all right, I'll
I
calm
love
down.
it.
I'll fall back.
I love it. Well, Eric, that is the end of our time together. Thank you so much for joining me. If you'd like to join in a gesture of gratitude, thank you to all the teachers, mentors, guides that came before us that brought us to this moment to impart and share the wisdom that was imparted to us. May it serve others. Thank you so much. And I hope that you have a wonderful rest of the day.